It's Big 12 Radio. This is Big 12 Today. Great to have you with us today and every day in your home for the Big 12 Conference. Tune in. Make sure to lock us in on the TuneIn app. Normally, we're also available via Big 12 Studios, but Amazon Web Services issues yesterday and today have everybody messed up. Apparently, the whole world runs on Amazon Web Services. Who knew? You probably should have known. They basically built their entire fortress and empire on Amazon Web Services. Jeff Bezos knew, if you buy all the cloud storage space of the world, you will then own the world. And he wasn't entirely wrong.
I mean, it's amazing how many companies this has impacted. Amazon, obviously, Venmo, Snapchat, Ring, Fortnite, Coinbase, Canva. Everybody's down. The list is long. And where is all this storage? Where's all this cloud storage?
In the computer?
It's in the computers. It's like the scene from Zoolander.
Yeah, exactly.
I believe it. It's in the computer. HBO Max.
Everybody
the
wants
McDonald's app. Lyft.
Everybody's just dying to know.
Couldn't get a ride
Where
today.
is all this cloud storage space?
Robinhood, EA Sports.
Can you see it?
Like the hills of California. I mean, where are these mega server, compounds?
I'll just never forget the first time, my parents started with cell phones, and the person at the AT&T store was like, it goes up to the cloud and retrieves your information. And like trying to explain the cloud to my parents at that point in time was, and then my parents then trying to explain it to me as if I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Well, see, it goes up into the cloud.
I mean, I remember the first time I heard the reference. It was confusing to me as well. It's
You were like,
back up my cell phone in the cloud. What does that mean?
It was just
Turns out it's just a giant server compound where there's a bunch of really big computers just hoarding all of your information.
Yeah.
I've got some good news, guys. We're live on YouTube right now.
Awesome.
Okay.
We're making progress. Anthony just texted me saying that we are live on YouTube, and I see it now. So, one step at a time.
How do we look? How's
So
my
I should
posture?
put my
Better
clothes.
today?
I should put my clothes back on. Is what you're trying to say?
Well, we have one camera angle, and it's a little awkward, but it looks like it's this camera to my left.
This guy?
Yeah, this camera 2.
Okay. Camera 2 is it's a fantastic camera.
It's one of my favorites.
It's the best camera.
It's not 3, which is trained directly on me, but
Yeah.
we'll forgive it for not being 3. All right, James Wesley, Ari Temkin. Week 8 was a wild week in the Big 12 because I think some teams flexed their muscles, and yet ultimately, what's your biggest takeaway, James, from Week 8?
Man, that's a good question. I think, number one, BYU is for real. Will they run the table? Remains to be seen. But if there were any questions about BYU and can they win big games with a true freshman quarterback, those questions were answered on Saturday. And then the other one's Arizona State. I mean, Arizona State loses at Mississippi State early in the year. Now the Big 12 needs to be huge, and definitely Arizona State fans need to be huge Mississippi State fans the rest of the way. But that's a much improved football team. It told me that Arizona State is very much, they might be, I think you could make a case that they're the most dangerous team in the Big 12. You see those 2 losses and you write them off. Well, one of those losses came with their backup quarterback starting. Sam Leavitt just finds ways to win football games. I don't think there's anybody else better in the conference at making those clutch, big-time plays, whether it's a throw on the run, whether it's a scramble after a play breaks down, whatever the case may be. He just has that it factor. He has that swagger.
And one of the things we hear all year about Jordan Tyson and how, if Arizona State had more weapons, how much more explosive would they be on offense? And yet, in those moments, having a guy like Tyson is so huge. So sometimes people overthink it, and it's like, oh, they need to have more weapons on offense. They're so obvious in who they want to go to, and it's like, it doesn't matter. Go back to that 4th down play that won them the game, essentially. And that's just 2 guys in Leavitt and Tyson that have played together, that are familiar with one another, making a play. And that's just impossible to stop. Let me ask this question a different way. As we think about the hierarchy, and I think it's important to kind of evaluate and reevaluate. I think through 6 games, 7 weeks of the season, Texas Tech was far and away the best. and in a hierarchy of its own. It was in my opinion, tier 1 was Texas Tech, and then you had a handful of teams in that second tier. Do you still feel that way? And I'm asking. I guess it's weird that I'm asking you that because I said that's the way that I felt. But like, do you still think that Texas Tech's the best team in the conference? Is it even possible following this loss to think of them that way?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say with Behren Morton at quarterback, they're probably still the best team in the conference. To me, I think this weekend raised the floor for a lot of these other teams in the conversation. BYU, Cincinnati. I think it showed me that Texas Tech is, frankly, they're beatable. They're vulnerable in some ways. Without Behren Morton at quarterback, they're a vulnerable football team. Now, they're still a really, really good football team, and I think appropriately ranked. But Will Hammond barely completed 50% of his passes. He doesn't have the downfield accuracy on those vertical routes that Behren Morton has. He's more of a threat as a runner, but I think Texas Tech's system just flows, hits better with Behren Morton at quarterback. And defensively, I think they really missed Skylar Gill-Howard at the nose. I thought Lee Hunter would have a big game, but they clearly missed Gill-Howard, and he's out for the year. So that had a significant impact. But to me, this
good call on Gill-Howard too, by the way.
Yeah, like this game tells me more about Arizona State. Cincinnati being 4-0 still looks really good. BYU at 7-0 and 4-0 in league, I think is a legitimate team that should be in the college football playoff if it started today. You know, that's more my main takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, I would have right now in that tier 1 3 teams. BYU, Texas Tech, and Arizona State.
What about Cincinnati?
I'd put Cincinnati, Houston, and probably Utah in tier 2. Because Utah has the loss to Texas Tech, they have the win over Arizona State, and they've lost to BYU. Now, the win over Arizona State looks like the anomaly simply because Jeff Sims didn't, played in that game and Sam Leavitt didn't, but still, I think that win is enough to put Utah in that second tier. Do you disagree there?
I maybe would have Cincinnati in the first tier. I think they've done enough, winning at Kansas, beating Iowa State in that
but
final.
They have no wins over those 3 teams we just talked about, which is Texas Tech, Arizona State, and BYU.
Right, and that's the knock on them is that their last 2 games they've played UCF and Oklahoma State. Now they have Baylor coming up this weekend, and then next weekend they play at Utah. So we'll find out quickly just how legit Cincinnati is, but I think they are. I think there's something to be said about momentum in this conference. They've won 6 in a row. And then I went back and I looked at the standings last year, and this time last year, we weren't even talking about Arizona State as a contender.
Yeah.
Same thing with Colorado at this point in time.
But let me ask you this, and apologies for cutting you off before you made the point. Is the Big 12 more top-heavy now to where a team that was like Arizona State or even Colorado last year, it's tougher to make up that ground than maybe it was last year and previous years, so there's more parity in this league?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's very much tougher to make up that ground this year because I do think the teams at the top, and I think the league collectively, from what I have seen, I think BYU is better than they were last year.
Considerably.
I think this Cincinnati team would beat a lot of teams that finished in the top half last year. Texas Tech, I still think, is an absolute animal. And I think you could argue Arizona State is even better this year. Both sides of the ball with the uptick we've seen from their defense than they were last year. This time last year, we were talking about Iowa State, who was 7-0 this time last year. We were talking about Kansas State, who was 6-1 this time last year and would start 7-1 before finishing 5-4 middle of the pack in the Big 12 standings. This year, I think we're talking about the teams at the top maybe separating themselves when it comes to BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, Texas Tech, Arizona State. That, to me, is the bigger talking point this year than it is a TCU or a Utah or a Kansas State winning out and making a push for a Big 12 title game.
I mean, one of the things we talked about last week was if you already have 2 losses, does that already take you out of the Big 12 title race? How do you feel about that today now as we head into week 9?
Yeah, no, I don't think I'm ready to go that far simply because the math would indicate that there's still a chance for those teams. But I will say the difference between last year and this year is so far the teams at the top of the conference are not losing to the teams at the bottom. They're getting beat in these heavyweight fights Last year, this time, you had Iowa State losing to an unranked Texas Tech team at home.
Yeah.
You had Kansas State going on the road and losing to a Houston team that won 4 games.
A lot more parity.
Exactly.
And it's funny, too, again, like the SEC and the Big Ten seem to have a ton of that parity. The Big 12 does not, and yet you survey the landscape of college football right now, and everybody's talking about parity. I mean, Kentucky probably should have beaten Texas. And we had Ole Miss losing to
Georgia.
Thank you. As an undefeated team. Vanderbilt is suddenly the best team in the SEC. And I'm supposed to believe that's a good conference.
Like, look at the top 5. Ohio State's number 1. Indiana's number 2. Texas A&M is number 3. Do Indiana and Texas A&M run the table? Then you've got Alabama 4, Georgia 5 with losses. We're seeing more and more undefeated teams go down. BYU climbed up to number 11 in the AP Top 25. Georgia Tech is 7-0, and they're number 7, and they have a very impressive resume. I think that's justified. But I do think that there's more parity in college football at the top, which is why I think the Big 12 is still in a really good spot, because these teams that have 1 loss are going to end up with 2 or 3. I don't think that anybody outside of Ohio State's going undefeated this year, and Ohio State loses to Michigan every year. So I think BYU being undefeated, if they have 1 loss going into the Big 12 championship game, I still think they're in a really good spot to get an at-large bid if they lose the Big 12 championship game. Texas Tech is still very much going to be okay, because I think the way they were beating people, I think the narrative surrounding their game against Arizona State is that was a huge upset because of what Texas Tech had been doing to other teams. And Arizona State has that prestige now, that pedigree, because what they did last year. Also, Cam Skattebo balling out in the NFL certainly helps people remembering Arizona State. They're not out of sight, out of mind. So I think the Big 12 is okay after this weekend.
With James Westling, I am Ari Temkin. So much to get to here in a Week 8 Reaction Monday. Of course, we're off to Kansas City for Big 12 Basketball Media Days, bringing you coverage from Women's Basketball Media Days tomorrow and then Men's Basketball Media Days on Wednesday. Plus, of course, we're getting you ready for a big-time Week 9. I'm flying out to Kansas City tonight, flying back on Wednesday with the group, and then driving back up to go to Lawrence with my family on Friday for Kansas and Kansas State. So I will be out there, hopefully, for Kansas to get their first win in nearly 2 decades in this series.
I'm nervous.
My God, James. If Kansas doesn't win this year.
If Kansas doesn't win this year. I'm not sure. It's going to be a while. It's going to be a minute, because it flips back to Manhattan next year.
In a minute. It's been multiple minutes.
KU has a lot of seniors.
It's been many minutes. Lots of the minutes. All of the minutes. And as this week progresses, we'll get into this game further, but there's a lot at stake here beyond, 17 straight for Kansas State. With James Westling, I'm Ari Temkin. This is Big 12 Radio on a Week 8 Reaction Monday. Great to have you with us today and every day, and you're home for the Big 12 Conference. On the way next, our player, coach, jersey, and atmosphere of the week. Plus, we'll hear from the players and coaches that made Week 8 happen. That's all coming up as you are locked into Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios.
Second down and 10. Sanders, here's a little screen. And they find Edwards. He breaks it back with running.
This camera's working. These two are not.
A reminder that the Big 12 championship is coming up. Maybe we'll see Texas Tech and Arizona State in a rematch of the Big 12 championship game. That would be an incredible game. John Pardee is going to perform at halftime of the Big 12 football championship, which kicks off at 11 a.m. on Saturday, December 6th at AT&T Stadium in Arlington and on ABC. John is the Big 12's first country music headliner at its football championship. He'll be joined in the performance by the marching bands from both participating universities. If you missed it last year, it was really cool for the infusion of the marching bands. There'll be a party pit of premium experience in front of the stage with tickets available to purchase. John's recent hit, Mr. Saturday Night, has been featured in a number of Big 12 football championship spots during game broadcast. Tickets for the 2025 Big 12 football championship are on sale exclusively through SeatGeek. With James Westling, I am Ari Tepkin, Big 12 Radio, reacting to Week 8. And, of course, the big winner this weekend was Arizona State, handing Texas Tech its first loss of the season. Texas Tech had won all of its game by at least 24 points. So a loss is pretty wild. And, Taman, here's clip 1. This is Kenny Dillingham talking about Sam Leavitt following Arizona State's upset win of Texas Tech.
It's just a testament to the way, him and Sam work. They work, they care, they prepare, they do everything they can to get on the field. JT's probably going to be up here at the crack of dawn tomorrow in the ice tub. That's what they do. This dude sitting next to me, I've never been around a guy who just works to try to win football games as much as he does on and off the field. His body, he'll go, he just does everything he can for this football team. And in the biggest moments, he makes the biggest plays. It's because he plays the Clash of the Clans or whatever?
Clash Royale.
Clash Royale, there it is.
Here's what Leavitt said with Kenny Dillingham at the podium there.
Missing last week was rough. I remember we were driving on the bus on the way to the game, and it's obviously, we're in Arizona, so it doesn't really get fall weather out here. So we get there and, leaves are falling and it feels like real football. So we're on the way to the stadium. I got my headphones on and I just started bawling, because it's just a game that I put my everything into and I couldn't be out there for my guys. So, it was really rough on me, but I tried to do my best, for them. And then it really just gave extra motivation going into this weekend. I was sitting in the cold tub room before this game and got those same emotions, kind of helped propel me to this win.
All right, so what a performance from Sam Leavitt and the Arizona State Sun Devils. The champs of the Big 12 continue to flex their muscles. I'm not going to call him daddy. I know that makes you uncomfortable. Makes James very uncomfortable, but they're proving it, right? The heart of the champion.
When you call things moist and you call Arizona State daddy. Power ranking 1 and 2, the moments that make me most uncomfortable. There was no way Sam Leavitt was not playing in this football game. Absolutely no way. He is a gamer. He works hard. They were not going to keep him off the field. And that Leavitt to Tyson connection is maybe the best 1-2 punch in the country. When you look at quarterback play across the entire college football landscape, Jordan Tyson is going to be the top receiver taken off the board in the NFL. He was targeted 17 times in this football game, 7 of those in the fourth quarter. 7 targets in the fourth quarter, and he caught 6. 7-yard gain, 6-yard gain, incompletion, 8-yard gain, then the 33-yard bomb on 4th and 2 with just over a minute to go. 8-yard gain, 12-yard touchdown on the pass interference penalty. Just an incredible 1-2 punch. And I know that Tyson is their main guy, but I do think they have other weapons. Sam Leavitt just knows in those clutch situations that you throw the ball in his direction, he's going to make a play. More times than not. But Mateer, the tight end, had 66 yards. Jaron Hamilton, the transfer that they brought in, who's a burner, had 3 grabs for 101, including a 75-yarder, or a 49-yarder. He still hit 8 different receivers, 8 different pass catchers. He threw the ball a ton, 28 for 49, 319, completion percentage around 60%, but no interceptions. And when you have a guy, a weapon like Tyson, it's why Arizona State is so good in the fourth quarter. Having that 1-2 punch and that guy that you can rely on.
Well said. All right, with that in mind, every Monday we go through our player, coach, jersey, and stadium environment of the week. So without further ado, James, let's do that for this Week 8 slate. Taman, which one are we going with first? All right, let's not.
Taman says Dikembe Mutombo, no.
All right, so how about let's
Taman, which one go with? No.
let's go. Let's start with crowd
Okay.
of the week, James. Give me your crowd of the week.
Man, this was an easy one for me. The Atmosphere Award goes to BYU at Lavelle Edwards Stadium. This was next level. They had drones lighting up the sky at both ends of the stadium, creating animations and Cougar logos. Cosmo was zip lining onto the field. He stole the show. That was pregame. He dove into a pool mid-show, hyping up the crowd. You had the fire dancers and the video board spectacles. Like, it had it all. Saw some really cool social media videos from people that were actually on the field. It was electrifying. I think it's one of the most underrated venues in all of college football. Nobody does it like that.
Yeah, and let me first just say shout out to Oklahoma State fans
Yes.
who brought it again this week with the section that was with their shirts off, and with the shirts off section set the tone. And this week it was the banana suit section. They were doing the Congo line. I mean, it was impressive. There was a lot of dancing going on. Like, they had a blast, all wearing banana suits. It was fun. So runner up this week, Week 8, the Oklahoma State fans. But yeah, BYU, you and I have to agree on this one. You didn't even ask me which one was mine, so that we could pick different ones this week because it was such a great environment.
Yep.
When Bear Bachmeier hit that touchdown run on third down, that place was up for grabs. It was electric, and the singing together. What's the song they're singing that they sing during home games? Man, it was an incredible environment, and just not much like it in Provo. And I think when BYU joined the Big 12, this is one of those nights that you think this is what it could be at its best.
Yeah, and Arizona State was really good as well. I saw Oklahoma State has more fan support now than they did when they were actually winning football games. It's turned into a whole thing, making that job even more attractive for the new coach. But the drone show at BYU was just insane.
All right, what is the coach? Who is the coach of the week?
Man, I stick with this same game. I think there were a lot of tremendous coaching performances over the weekend, but I'm going Kalani Sitake and BYU. They were outgained in this game. They never panicked. They were down 14-10 early in the fourth quarter, and then they ripped off 14 unanswered. Back-to-back touchdowns, a 22-yard quarterback run that you referenced early in the game on 3rd and 11 by Bear Bachmeier. Their defense got the stops when it mattered. And on 4th down, that's not just line of scrimmage play. That's, anticipating what the play call's going to be. And down there in the red zone, the defense stiffened. I thought Kalani Sitake was fantastic all the way around.
Yeah, my coach of the week this week is Willie Fritz, the coach for Houston. Year 2, he's already got Houston bowl eligible at 6-1, and I just love the approach that Houston took going into this game. And then their defense never quit. I mean, their defense, gave up the lead, looked like they were going to lose the game, and then no panic. They go right out there. Great game plan with Connor Wigman getting him involved to the quarterback run, which sets them up to kick the game-winning field goal. And Ethan Sanchez, credit again Willie Fritz for instilling some confidence in his special teamer, because Sanchez missed the 48-yarder earlier in the game, but he still sends him back out there to kick a 41-yarder, has the confidence in him to win the game for him. Willie Fritz is my coach of the week in the Big 12.
A conservative offense. Arizona scores to tie the game with less than 2 minutes to go. Houston has to march down the field, get into field goal range for Sanchez to boot that through. They got in the red area inside the 30-yard line, just enough for Sanchez to knock it through. Great pick.
All right, who is your jersey of the week?
Ooh, this was a tough one. Man, I love what BYU and Utah are doing with the one team wears blue, BYU, Utah wears the all red. That's the second year in a row that they've done that. But I'm going with Arizona. The Arizona Wildcats rolled out their chrome red helmets with the throwback Arizona logo that has the desert and the cactus for their road set at Houston. I thought it looked really, really good. Arizona has a very underrated, simple uniform design. They just needed kind of some next-level helmets, and they finally got it. For whatever reason, I think chrome helmets looks best when the color is red. We've seen it from Arizona. We saw it from Cincinnati against Nebraska. They were my uniform pick of the week then. I'm going with Arizona, but a lot of great choices this weekend.
Yeah, so the Arizona logo on the helmet, fantastic. Watching this game, though, made for a miserable experience because, I mean, they looked like Houston.
Right.
White jerseys, red helmets. It was extremely confusing. But once they zeroed in on the helmets, those are pretty sick. The winner of this jersey of the week this week for me has got to be Arizona State. So let's stay in state where Arizona State, like Arizona, went with the throwbacks this week, and they were fantastic. I mean, Arizona State has a lot of cool throwback logos, but this one's awesome where it's got the sun on the helmet, the sun then on each shoulder pad. Just love the look. Old school look. Love the color design. Just great look for Arizona State. Again, it looks a lot like one of their other throwback unis, but the classic sun logo on the helmet and on the shoulder pads. I went with Arizona State for the jersey of the week this week.
Yeah, those 70s throwbacks are next level. I mean, Adidas is crushing it this year with the throwbacks. Texas Tech, Arizona State, Kansas. They are really upping their game when it comes to the uniform world. With you on Houston, Arizona, though. I mean, it almost looks like a scrimmage because both teams had almost the same shade of red.
Like the first drive of the game, I'm like, oh, Houston has the ball.
Yeah.
And I kept having to remind myself that's Arizona.
Some navy pants, worked
Yeah.
in the mix for Arizona probably would have been good.
All right, give me your player of the week.
Player of the week, I'm going with a little bit of what I would call a sleeper pick. Kavorian Barnes, the running back for TCU. He had a monster game in the opener against North Carolina. Then he got beat up. He had 106 rushing yards on 25 carries, and he had 2 touchdowns in their win over Baylor, 42-36. The first score came early in the game before the weather delay, a 5-yard run after a Baylor turnover. That was in the second quarter. But then he took a direct snap, 14 yards out, found pay dirt after the long lightning delay. That put TCU up 42-21. And I highlight him because I felt like whichever team could run the football best would win the football game, and he was a monster. TCU averaged over 7 yards per carry on first down runs. Usually that was him. I know that Battle had a breakout performance as well, but I'm going with Barnes, the UTSA transfer.
I like that call. I'm going with Jordan Tyson as my player of the week this week. And, 10 catches for over 100 yards. And, look, there are probably some performances from a stat perspective that are better than what Tyson did. But I just thought in the biggest game of the weekend, in the biggest moment, it was all about Jordan Tyson. And, you can study it on film. You can watch and game plan for him. But in those moments, when they need plays, Tyson's the guy, and he delivers. Tyson with a 33-yard catch on 4th and 2. It's nearly impossible to stop these two in those moments because they just have a understanding of one another that's so difficult and electric to defend. That catch on 4th and 2 came with under a minute to play. Later on in that same drive, a pass interference in the end zone that set Arizona State up with a goal-to-go situation, which essentially clinched the game for them. And, Tyson with 10 catches, but 4 of those came in that final drive.
4 on the final drive, 7 in that fourth quarter. And even on paper, he might be the player of the week. I'll be surprised if he doesn't get Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week from the official release, unless it's Sam Levitt. But, the time of possession was Arizona State held the football 37 minutes to Texas Tech's 12. And a lot of that was because Jordan Tyson's catches were coming on 3rd downs, 3rd and short, 4th downs to extend drives and keep Arizona State on the field. Great pick with Tyson.
On 3rd and 4th down, I'm probably going to bring 2 guys over to Jordan Tyson. And I'm trying to figure out a way to get the hand, to get the ball away from him in those money down situations because, that's the only guy they're looking for, and he's always able to get open. And, again, it's the familiarity with Levitt that they have that helps to facilitate a situation like that. It's impressive. It's very impressive. All right, that is our player, coach, jersey, and environment of the week across the Big 12 Week 8. So much to get to in terms of the Week 8 slate, not just in the Big 12, but in college football at large. Let's react to that on the way next. The AP Top 25 is out. So what do we think about the latest AP Top 25? What else happened around the country and how it pertains to the Big 12? That's all coming up next. You are locked into Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, heard on TuneIn, and streaming on Big 12 Studios.
Throwing the other direction
has been.
Into the bucket. Touchdown.
Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today. Great to have you with us today and every day, especially on a Monday reaction show with a huge Week 8 slate and big picture stories and takeaways. James, when we think about the Big 12 standing right now in college football, what did Week 8 mean overall? What else happened Week 8? There were some significant losses. Louisville knocked off Miami. That's my underdog of the week. That hit with an outright win. Major upsets across college football. This, it feels like, is more parity we've seen in college football in a long time.
I mean, Ohio State is really the only team that looks dominant. And I think until this past Saturday, you could make a case that Texas Tech was the other. Well, Texas Tech didn't have their starting quarterback. Will Hammond is – I still think he's a bit of a work in progress. That was a really tough spot for him to go on the road. But now, teams have had a chance to see him. They've had a chance to game plan for him. Remember, he came in against Utah. Nobody knew anything about this kid. And so he was fantastic. But big picture, Indiana and Texas A&M are ranked 2 and 3. Miami drops 7 spots. How they're ranked ahead of BYU has more to do with where they were in the preseason. But to your point, with all the parity, these teams are going to lose more than one game. Some of them ranked in the top 10 are going to lose more than 2 games the rest of the way. So BYU just outside the top 10, Texas Tech at number 14, Arizona State is back in the top 25, Cincinnati vaults 3 spots to 21. I still think the Big 12 is okay. There's enough time left in the season for Texas Tech to jump back into the top 10. If Texas Tech and BYU, hypothetically, and that's really the only world we can live in right now is hypotheticals, if they both run the table the rest of the way and play for the Big 12 championship in Arlington, both teams will be in the top 10 at that point in time and probably in a position for the Big 12 to get multiple bids regardless of who wins that game.
A couple of more coaches lost their jobs this weekend across college football. Billy Napier finally let go from Florida. That one seemed like it had been coming for at least a year. Finally does, though. Napier, anytime he was pushed to the edge, felt like would get a big top 10 win and just couldn't survive that this year. And by the way, where's University of South Florida ranked?
They are number 18. They only moved up 1 spot.
Yeah, they're 18. Their one win is over Florida, a Florida team that, by the way, beat Texas that somehow finds itself in the top 25. Texas, what's their best win? Florida? No, that's a loss. Sorry.
Well, get your T-shirts.
Oklahoma?
Get your T-shirts
Kentucky?
for the 13-10 overtime win over 2-4 Kentucky.
It was 16-13.
Oh, excuse me, 16-13, which is even worse.
God, what a joke.
It is wild that Penn State's already fired James Franklin, the preseason number 2 team in the country. You could make a case that this season has been the biggest disaster in college football history. They still haven't beaten a Power 4 program. Their head coach is fired. He's owed $49 million. Their starting quarterback is out for the season, Drew Aller. And their next 2 games, by the way, they just lost to Iowa, 25-24. Their next 2 games are Ohio State and Indiana.
Yeah,
that's who they have coming up.
In Indiana, you look at the rest of their schedule, they're not losing. Credit to James Faust on our YouTube channel for bringing this up. The rest of their schedule, at Penn State, looked like the toughest game they had all year on their schedule, and obviously that one's less tough. This thing is setting up for Ohio State to beat Indiana in the Big Ten championship game, 52-15.
Yeah, they play at Maryland. Maryland's, I think, they're 4-3 now. They've lost 2 in a row. At Purdue, that'll be a win. No, James is right. UCLA is 3-4. They're 3-1 in the Big Ten. The Big Ten
weird for you to be talking in third person like that. First person, I beg your pardon.
James talking to James.
Yeah.
When you look at the Big Ten standings, Oregon, Northwestern, USC, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, and UCLA are all 3-1. It's wild. But also, Florida State, I think, is becoming a big story and kind of after their Week 1 win over Alabama, they've really fallen off. And the buyout for Mike Norvell plus what they would have to pay to hire the new guy is going to cost that program over $100 million.
Yeah. Jay Norvell also fired at Colorado State. And Mike Norvell still coaching at Florida State, no relation to Jay Norvell. Mike Norvell and his team just lost to a Stanford team that lost to undefeated BYU, who's still 11th in the country.
Yeah.
I don't know. I give up.
The list is long of college football coach openings with the additions of Florida, Kent State, UAB over the past week. But I thought, nationally, Vanderbilt beating LSU, that essentially, I think, knocks LSU out of the college football playoff conversation, at least as of now. South Florida is probably the best group of 5 team that I've seen. And Georgia Tech, you have to remember Colorado had Georgia Tech on the ropes week 1. And Georgia Tech has vaulted into the top 10. They're now 7th. So that tells me that I would say the Big 12, what has happened with the teams that the Big 12 beat or played right down to the wire in the non-conference has worked out really well for the Big 12 conference.
Yeah, well said.
Even Utah's win at UCLA, when you look at UCLA now being 3-1 in the Big 10.
By the way, former Boise State running back Doug Martin, I believe his nickname was Hamster. Was it Mighty Hamster, something like that? Mega Hamster, Doug Martin. He passed away. He was just 36 years old. 6 of 7 NFL seasons with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and was selected as one of the top 50 players in the history of the franchise as part of their 50-year celebration. Muscle Hamster, that was his nickname. 5'9", bruising style, had 5,000 yards rushing and 30 touchdowns over his NFL career. Just 36 years old and passed away.
Gosh, that is tragic.
Yeah. And any other big stories around college football that you saw from this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I would say just real quick, Mississippi State just lost to Florida. Mississippi State being 4-3 and 0-3 in the SEC is bad for Arizona State in the Big 12. Now they play Texas coming up and then at Arkansas, and then their last 3 games, Georgia, Missouri, and Ole Miss. So I can already see in the future this narrative around Arizona State losing to Mississippi State in the non-conference. And I was just trying to piggyback off that point I made about the Big 12 and their L's and their wins against Power 4 opponents looking really good. That is the one outlier. That one is starting to – it's not aging well for the Big 12.
Yeah.
But, no, I felt like Ole Miss was a little bit overrated. Them losing at Georgia was no surprise to me. Miami, all the metrics say that Miami's the most overrated team in the country with the way they've been beating teams. So for them to lose at Louisville was a great pick on your underdog of the week. Notre Dame's going to make the college football playoff. You look at their upcoming schedule, they've already climbed all the way to number 12. But I still think that, when you look at the landscape of college football, the Big 12 is okay. My biggest beef would be that Georgia Tech is number 7 and BYU is number 11. And I think you could make the case that BYU has played a more challenging schedule than Georgia Tech. Sure, they beat Clemson when Clemson was ranked in the top 10, but where is Clemson now?
By the way, speaking of non-conference wins or losses, Cincinnati losing to Nebraska, who then fell this week to Minnesota for their second loss of the season. Not great. Not great. 2 teams towards the top of the Big 12, Cincinnati and Arizona State, now with bad losses in the non-conference. And that's not to mention Baylor's loss to Auburn, which, again, looks worse and worse each week as well, especially considering how bad Auburn's offense is. But with Baylor's defense continuing to put up the numbers it's putting up, man, is that bad. I mean, Baylor's defense, they did have a score in this game, which kind of kept it close at the end, but it might have been a little bit fool's gold for a or for a Baylor team, that's lost, I believe, 9 of their last 11 to TCU now. All right. Anything else nationally we got to get to?
I would give a shout-out real quick to Houston. The fact that Houston is now the 4th team out of the AP Top 25. They received 34 votes this week. The new teams in the poll were Illinois, Arizona State, and Michigan. But there were just so many teams now with 1 loss between – but the teams are ranked between 1 and 16. Teams not named Notre Dame between 1 and 16 have 1 or 0 no losses. So my point is you're splitting hairs in a lot of cases. There's still a ton of season left to see how this thing shakes out.
All right, so in terms of the Big 12, the highest-ranked Big 12 team is undefeated BYU. The lowest-ranked undefeated team, BYU, up 4 spots to number 11 after their win over Utah. Texas Tech falls 7 spots from 7 all the way to 14. They took a tumble with their loss to Arizona State. No credit there for not having their quarterback. Cincinnati checks in at number 21 as they move up 3 spots with their win. And then Arizona State at number 24. They move back into the top 25. So Utah moves out. There are others receiving votes. You mentioned Houston also receiving votes. TCU also part of receiving votes. But as that 1, 2, 4 Big 12 teams ranked in the AP Top 25 this week.
And you look at where the Big 12 teams are ranked this week relative to last season, and it's about the same. Iowa State was a little bit higher than where BYU is right now, and it's about the same in terms of where it was in the preseason AP Top 25. Last season, the Big 12 only got one team in the field. This year, the Big 12 is hoping for two, but there was a second team in BYU last year that was definitely in the conversation. Iowa State and BYU play this Saturday in Ames. That's a massive game for the Big 12. But BYU's body of work, the way they beat Stanford, the way they beat East Carolina, that win is aging nicely. To win at Colorado, they've won 3 games on the road, and then they won an in-state rivalry game against a Utah team that all the metrics had as a top 20 team, and they were even an underdog in that game. So I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't jump even higher in the AP Top 25. But there's a discrepancy between all these metrics and analytics in terms of who now the favorite is in the Big 12. ESPN's FPI still has Texas Tech, 39% chance to win the Big 12, BYU at 32, followed by Cincinnati. But our guy Cam Mellor over at PFS in College has BYU a 32% chance to win the league, followed by Cincinnati, and then they dropped Texas Tech to number 3. I think a lot of that has to do with the health of Behren Morton.
Yeah, I mean, look, BYU being outside the top 10 with a undefeated 7-0 record and wins out of conference against Stanford, East Carolina, and now you beat Utah, a team that, by the way, was very recently ranked in the top 25, is egregious. I mean, and especially when you consider that there are how many one-loss teams in front of them? I mean, Miami, for crying out loud, is still in front of them.
Yeah. That's the one that really grinds my gears. Ole Miss lost to Georgia. Okay. Vanderbilt's one loss was to Alabama.
There are
all right.
4 SEC teams in front of undefeated BYU with 1 loss.
Yeah.
4 one-loss SEC teams in front of 0-loss BYU with some impressive wins.
Yes, and if you side-by-side BYU and Georgia Tech, okay, they have one common opponent, first of all, in Colorado, and they both won at Colorado. Georgia Tech did it in the opener. BYU did it week 4 when Colorado was a little bit better and was starting to kind of find their way. Georgia Tech's best win is at home against Clemson by a field goal. Clemson, who's unranked and is 3-4 on the season and 2-3 in ACC play.
BYU's best win is against a 4-2 Utah team that's looked really good in every game with the exception of the Texas Tech game. They also have 2 wins out of conference that are pretty good in Stanford and East Carolina.
And Georgia Tech's out-of-conference wins are Gardner-Webb and Temple. They won by 1 at Wake Forest, who is 1-2 in ACC play. They beat a coachless Virginia Tech team who's 2-5. Oh, and they just won at Duke, who's now 4-3 on the season. So it's that East Coast bias. There's no reason why these teams should be separated by 4 spots in the AP top.
Well, and not to mention that Texas Tech, despite winning every game so far this year by 24 points with the exception of their lone loss, is somehow still behind a Notre Dame team that's got 2 losses already. Make that make sense.
Yep.
But we know Notre Dame is ticketed for the playoff with their 2 losses.
They are. Yeah, they got by USC. That's the toughest remaining game on their schedule. They play Boston College, Navy, Pitt, Syracuse, and Stanford. Notre Dame will be in the field. So I would say we definitely know. I would say probably 6 of the 12 are settled.
By the way, Michigan is back in the AP Top 25 at number 25. They have 2 losses, and they have lost to an unranked team. Illinois has 2 losses. Feels like a lot. And especially given Utah and Illinois are fairly similar in terms of their losses. Illinois is in the top 25. Again, Florida State, man. And then, I don't know. I mean, it feels like every week SEC and the Big Ten get the benefit of the doubt, and some of these losses the Big 12 does not. But that's just kind of the way it is.
I think I really would like to see voters put a greater emphasis on how these teams get beat.
Yeah.
Okay, Illinois is ranked in the top 25. They lost by 53 to Indiana. They lost at home to Ohio State 34-16, and even that final was misleading. That was a blowout. So the fact that they've been absolutely crushed in their losses, I think should carry some weight. I think the fact that Michigan got thumped by USC 31-13. They weren't even really in the Oklahoma game early in the year. That should carry some weight. They couldn't score more than 13 points in either of those games. And then you look at Texas Tech, who loses in the final minute at Arizona State with their backup quarterback. You look at BYU, who's running the table and drubbing people outside of Colorado and Utah. I just think that there should be more of an emphasis on the way you're winning and losing.
That's James Westling. I am Ari Temkin. This is Big 12 Radio. More Week 8 reaction in the Big 12, including the big winners. Plus, we'll hear from the coaches. It's all coming up next with James Amari. It's a full reaction Monday. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios.
All your favorite
today, along with James Westling. I'm Ari Temkin. Week 8 reaction. Talking big picture, talking little picture, talking everything. I'd say hitting the headlines from a Week 8 slate. Both Cincinnati and Houston are both eligible for the first time since joining the Big 12. So huge breakthrough seasons for both Scott Satterfield and Willie Fritz. Satterfield in year 3, Fritz in year 2. Arizona State beats a Texas Tech team to hand them their first loss without Behren Morton. BYU stays undefeated and wins 3 straight in the Holy War as BYU take it over as the power program in the state of Utah. Those are just some of the major headlines. And then TCU continues its dominance over Baylor, handing Baylor its second conference loss and most likely ending its season in terms of their pursuit of a Big 12 championship, James.
Well, I think when you look at, I'm looking at ESPN's power rankings, which is more favorable towards the Big 12 than the AP Top 25 voters, which is a good sign to me. It shows me that somebody else is paying attention. And remember, this is a culmination of ESPN writers that put together their poll, and then they rank these teams. And they have BYU 10th. They have Texas Tech 11th. Texas Tech is the big one to me. I think that it is well known when it comes to these guys that Texas Tech was without their starting quarterback, Behren Morton. They were down 12 points in the fourth quarter. They still rallied to take the lead. And Sam Leavitt just made plays on that last drive. Now, the other kind of nugget here, Texas Tech and BYU play each other in just a few weeks. That's going to be a massive game for not just the Big 12 championship race, but also college football playoff implications on the line. Texas Tech wraps up the season with UCF and West Virginia. They still have Oklahoma State. So Texas Tech, I think if we're doing kind of a pulse check on them, they're okay. Will Hammond has showed some promise despite the loss. But Behren Morton, it's not a season-ending injury. He's expected to return soon, maybe as early as this weekend. Defensively, I know that they had some holes against Arizona State. They gave up 4 explosive plays of 30 or more yards. That was their biggest lapse defensively of the entire season. And the turnovers are trending in the wrong direction after a massive uptick. They're kind of coming back down to earth there. But the way their schedule shapes up, I still think they're fine.
Oh, yeah. And here's what Joey McGuire said following this loss.
I think more than anything, we're fixing to find out how we're going to face a loss. That's the adversity that you got to find out. I mean, I thought if you look at the whole of the game, facing adversity and coming back and taking the lead with 2 minutes left in the game, we faced adversity pretty well. Like, those guys fought. There was never a time that they pulled away from us and that we kept fighting and, took the lead late in the game. I think the biggest thing we're going to find out, and that's going to be, we'll know that next Saturday. We'll know through the week and next Saturday of how, you face a loss and, you drop in the rankings and, you hear all the noise, from everywhere and anywhere. Just like I told them, it's the same thing as when you win. You hear the noise of the win, and how do you handle that? You're going to hear the same noise. It's just going to be different. It's going to be more negative. How do you handle that? We're going to find out a lot about this team throughout this week going into Saturday at home.
All right, there's Joey McGuire talking about learning a lot about his team. We'll see the status of Behren Morton. Obviously, that looms large. And look, I mean, sometimes it's about the way the ball will bounce. And, like Texas Tech dropped an interception in this game. Arizona State was able to jump on 2 of their fumbles that they had. Could have been costly fumbles. There was a roughing the passer penalty called at a 4th down situation where Leavitt throws an incompletion and Bailey gets flagged for roughing the passer. Questionable call for sure. So, but at the end of the day, you got to make the plays and not allow the officials to determine the outcome of games, right?
Right.
And ultimately, Tech had opportunities. They just didn't do it.
Yeah, and I think Joey McGuire is spot on. I mean, that's the biggest question I have now regarding Texas Tech is where are they at from a mental toughness standpoint? Because they haven't been tested. Maybe a little bit in the Utah game, but they pulled away in the second half. He's right about the noise. It's not going to be positive this week. The noise is going to be, Texas Tech, even with all that NFL talent,
right,
they can't win big games. Texas Tech overrated. Texas Tech this, Red Raiders that. And The turnovers trending in the wrong way is a little bit concerning with those 5 giveaways in their last 2 games. They had just 2 through the first 5 games of the season. Baron Morton being back and being 100%, I think is a game changer for them. And now I think has been magnified the importance of having him on the field. But their defense is still salty. They lost a tough road game in a hostile environment against a really good football team that really, you could make the case, Arizona State, not only did they have to have a couple of breaks, they also had to play their A game to beat Texas Tech. And Texas Tech played maybe their C-plus game when you look at Will Hammond's numbers, and they were still right there.
Yeah, and look, I thought Tech did a really good job in getting field goals all game in the red zone. And, I mean, they kept stopping Arizona State in the red zone until Arizona State had the final drive of the game, which says a lot about the mettle and heart of the defending Big 12 champs. Sometimes that stuff matters. Tech produced 14 points over the final 4 minutes of this game, but it would not be enough.
Like, you look at the analytics of this game, and it's a miracle that Arizona State won this football game. Like, first down rushing yardage, Arizona State averaged 1.4 yards per carry on first down, 16 rushes for 22 yards. Texas Tech averaged 7.5 on first down. So they were the team that was playing above the, in front of the chains on schedule. Texas Tech won the field position battle. They had a better field position rate than Arizona State. But really, it was the big plays, and most of those late in the game. Arizona State had 10 explosives for 253 yards. Texas Tech mustered only 5 for 93 yards. That is the difference in the football game. Texas Tech can win the line of scrimmage. They can win all the rushing numbers. They can win the leverage rate. But Arizona State had the explosives that Texas Tech was lacking because Baron Morton wasn't available, and he's such an accurate vertical passer. That was big.
Yeah, well said. All right, BYU stays undefeated. Amazingly, and appreciate Namuel Marduk on YouTube for pointing this out. But Iowa State now at 2.5-point underdog, rather a favorite coming out of their bye week against an undefeated BYU team. But impressive win for the Cougs. And look, as much as Bear Bachmeier shouldn't be doing what he's doing, I mean, he's doing it. And, was he perfect? No. But a 22-yard touchdown run on 3rd and 10 to put BYU up 24-14 after a late Dampier interception. I mean, it brought the house down in Provo. It was an incredible touchdown run. And to me, it's exactly what Bear Bachmeier has been all year. Like, he's not going to be perfect. He's not going to make all the throws. But when you need him to, he is a gamer. And his ability to pick up yardage with his legs, like, between their offensive line, L.J. Martin running the football, who, again, is the leading rusher in the Big 12 right now after another 120-plus yard performance. And then Bear Bachmeier, like, it's so difficult to stop their ground game because even though you know where it's coming from, it's still so explosive. And the offensive line's good. They win up front. And then with L.J. Martin and Bear Bachmeier, it's an impossible two-headed monster to try to stop.
And Utah outgained BYU in this game by almost 100 yards. In fact, over 100 yards, 470 to 368. But Utah had 12 penalties for 77 yards. BYU only 5. Third and fourth downs, Utah 6 for 17, including just 1 for 5 on fourth down. BYU leaned on their defense. They had 2 takeaways. Bear Bachmeier, I think we're at a point where he has been so good in clutch moments. First of all, he's not a freshman. Like, he does not play like a freshman.
He is a freshman.
He does not carry himself like a freshman.
It's true.
The only thing that he's a freshman is on paper. And with the NFL draft rules, he has to stay because he's a true freshman.
Yeah.
He's got to play 3 years. So we get 2 more years after this year.
At least.
At least.
With Ryder Lyons coming in, by the way, there's at least 1 year of overlap because Lyons is going to take his mission trip next year.
Yep.
Which means by the time Lyons is a freshman, it'll be year 3 for Bear Bachmeier.
BYU is putting themselves, with the way they're recruiting, winning games like this, with a true freshman at quarterback. BYU is putting themselves in a position to win or compete for a national championship. Maybe not this year. Maybe it's next year. Maybe it's 3 years from now. But the way they're building this program, they are way ahead of schedule in terms of what you need to do to win a national championship. With a true freshman quarterback, making plays like he made on 3rd down and 11 or whatever it was when he picks up that 22-yard gain, powering his way into the end zone. I love this football team, and the way they never panic. You know, they won the turnover battle in this game, and they've been in the plus side of turnover margin.
Yeah, that's a key.
But they're not doing it in a fluky ball bouncing their way type approach, kind of like what happened in some games last year, where they would have a special teams touchdown or they would get a fortunate tip on a pass that they'd pick off. This year, they line up and they just look like the better team in every single game. And I think L.J. Martin being healthy this year is another game changer, which is a big reason why I think they're better than they were last season. He was beat up. He didn't play half the season. 26 carries, 122 yards in this football game, almost 5 yards per carry. I mean, 200 yards on the ground against a Utah defense is like 400 against anybody else.
Yeah.
It was impressive.
Well, and here's what Bear Bachmeier said following the game about that final drive there, which put BYU up 24-14.
We need to get out of those, but, we've kind of been trailing in these last games, and I talk about a lot, but just the brotherhood of the team and the ability to just stay poised. We knew we were going to come back, and we've been in that situation. We knew we were going to come back.
We've been in that situation. We knew we were going to come back. That's a confidence led by the leader of your football team to know what you're going to do in those big moments.
And they have. They got a little bit of a scare from West Virginia, but when they needed an answer, they got it. At Colorado, they're down 2 touchdowns early in the game. They rally for the 4th quarter lead. Same thing against East Carolina. That's anybody's game going into halftime. They get a pick 6 with East Carolina backed up into their own end zone. That wasn't just a East Carolina mistake. That was BYU headhunting for that pick 6. They make so many big plays in big moments, and they're a big-time player in the whole overview of college football.
Here's what Kalani Sitake said about the all 3 phases win for BYU.
Glad we got the victory, obviously, but really excited about, just the overall. All 3 phases, the guys played their butts off, and the fans were amazing tonight in the stadium. You guys could feel it, the energy, and glad that we were able to make the plays. We knew that it would take all 3 phases to do this, and we knew that it would be a fight to the end, and I have to give a lot of credit to Utah for performance. Obviously, we just made a couple more plays than they did, but I think this is a good moment for our team, and it's good to see those guys, and good to get the victory, but more importantly, just really proud of the guys working hard and having it come all together.
I mean, as you mentioned, Bachmeier plays well beyond his years. I mean, I think just the immediate answer, so BYU's up, Utah takes the lead, and they, get a pair of touchdown runs by Parker Kingston, and that really slams the door shut. Well, also, I thought in this game, too, Utah probably some questionable decision-making by Kyle Whittingham. And Utah went 0-4 on 4th down in the first 3 quarters. They had 3 drives in the first 3 quarters that averaged 10 plays, 60 yards in over 4 minutes, all ended without points. They ran 31 plays, over 194 yards in 14 minutes without a score on 3 separate drives in this game. And they went 1 of 5 overall on 4th down, and I thought there were some times where they probably should have taken points but didn't. We're trying to assert their dominance, and ultimately it's 9 points they took off the board there by not attempting field goals in those situations.
Yeah, and then also the play calling on those 4th downs. It's a simple dive play, and BYU stuffed it on 2 4th and shorts. I feel like in those situations you can get Devin Dampier out in the open, let him make a run pass RPO decision. The other thing that stood out to me was we talked about BYU's ground game versus Utah's ground game on paper was very good. They were very good on 1st down. They had a lot of rushing yards. Again, they outgained BYU. But BYU stayed ahead of schedule. Utah had the explosive plays, but they were 3rd and long. They were 3rd and mediums. Meanwhile, BYU, only 26%, 17 plays to be exact, of BYU's plays from scrimmage were considered passing downs, which is a 2nd down that's 8 or more yards to gain, or a 3rd or 4th down that's 5 or more yards to gain. Only 26%. So they were they were ahead of the chains with leverage rate all night long. And eventually, I think if one team wore down the other, BYU wore down Utah in that battle.
All right, this is Big 12 Today, Big 12 Radio, along with James Westling. I'm Ari Temkin. Great to have you with us today and every day. Make sure, if you have not yet already, to download the TuneIn app and favorite the channel. That way it shows up each and every time you open up the app. Of course, we're going to be out. This is a get-out day for us. We'll be out in Kansas City tomorrow. It's the women's basketball media days on Tuesday, men's on Wednesday. We're going to be joined by Austin Ivan on the women's side and King McClure on the men's side. So don't miss any of those interviews as we talk with all the coaches and players that will be out there for Big 12 basketball media days this week in Kansas City. And, of course, we're recapping Week 8 and get you ready for Week 9 as well throughout this week. This is Big 12 Today. James, Ari, Taman Turner is our producer, and we're coming to you on TuneIn as well as streaming on video on Big 12 Studios. It's part of Roku, Tubi, Amazon Prime Video, DirecTV Stream, and, of course, YouTube. This is Big 12 Today. Big 12 Radio. This is Big 12 Today. Heard on TuneIn, streamed on Big 12 Studios. James Westling, Ari Temkin. Reacting to Week 8, looking ahead to Week 9. Getting ready to head out of town for Kansas City for Big 12 basketball media days. I'm heading back and forth between Kansas City and Lawrence, Kansas over the next week. Should be a lot of fun.
How long is the drive to Lawrence?
About 8 hours.
Okay.
So what's interesting is I grew up in Chicago. My wife is from Dallas. And then I had a bunch of friends out of state at KU that were from Minneapolis. It felt like the majority of the people I knew that were not from the state of Kansas were from Minneapolis, Chicago, or Dallas. Aside from, the normal, St. Louis had a lot, obviously. Kansas City, as a part of Kansas. But what's funny about those three locations is it's basically an hour flight, an 8-hour drive. So all three are equidistant from Lawrence, but completely different locations, completely different directions.
Yeah.
Minnesota, Chicago, and Dallas. So not too bad. But, it's funny because it's a drive I used to do a lot, like even between Dallas and Lawrence. And I haven't done it in a long time, so.
No, you got the kids with you?
Got the kids with us,
the
yeah.
Kids, get those iPads charged, 8 hours, but it's not a bad drive.
No, yeah. It'll be nostalgic.
Easy peasy. Right.
Yeah.
You can turn into, the tour guide and share, all of your fondest memories from Lawrence and also making that drive, right? Here's the world's largest prairie dog. Here's the world's largest ball of twine. Here's where they do gas things here. Should make for
where is the world's largest ball of twine, by the way?
Somewhere in western Kansas.
Okay,
it's pretty epic.
I missed that one.
So is the world's largest prairie dog.
How big is the world's largest prairie? Is it a statue?
It's a statue. Yeah, they get you.
See, how do they do that?
They get you. I know.
At least they should have the largest prairie dog that's alive there too.
I know.
Maybe it's not as big as the statue.
I thought we were going to a petting zoo. We were going to see this massive, oversized, gorilla-shaped prairie dog, but no, it's just a statue.
All right, so let's do a vibe check in the Big 12 here. Because I think one of the things we've talked a lot about on the show today is that, hey, Texas Tech is fine. If you're a Texas Tech fan, there's disappointment in the loss, and you'd won all your games by at least 24 points, and maybe there's going to be some calls across the country that say Texas Tech's overrated, but whatever. I think we know in our heart of hearts that Texas Tech at this point, ton of talent, probably at this point hasn't put it all together yet.
Yeah.
And if they have, it's been an early season non-conference opponents that put up zero resistance. But so far in conference play, we haven't seen them put their best foot forward, and yet they've still won all of their games with the exception of the one on Saturday. And Arizona State was sort of in a must-win type situation coming off a really bad loss to Utah where they weren't very competitive. So to get Sam Leavitt back and look that good, I thought vibe check Big 12, this was not a bad loss for the conference. This win for Arizona State could go a long way in helping the Big 12 get multiple bids to the college football playoff. I think right now the Big 12 looks a lot top-heavier than it's looked in recent history. BYU is legit. Whether or not they survive this gauntlet unscathed, I'd be shocked if they did. They've got Iowa State this week. They still have Texas Tech to come. They've got a gauntlet for sure. But Tech, Arizona State, BYU, those are three legitimate teams at the top of the conference.
Yeah, what's been the biggest upset in the Big 12 so far? In league games only, I think you could make a case that it was Cincinnati winning at Kansas, and then it probably was Arizona State beating Texas Tech over the weekend. Colorado taking down Iowa State. Sure, it looked like an upset on the surface, but the line was only 2.5, 3 points. So there was something there. I look more at Texas Tech is, to your point, they're going to be fine. Even if they lose another game. They've got a big one coming up against BYU in a couple of weeks. But Arizona State, I think, is very much a player now. And I don't know why that feels surprising, but it really shouldn't be. They're the defending Big 12 champs. They won 11 games last year. They lost Scatterboot, but they still brought back 20 starters on both sides of the ball. They've been so much better defensively that, I think you could make a case that they are better than they were last season. And one of their losses came without Sam Leavitt. Sam Leavitt is starting to play in my opinion, a Heisman-caliber quarterback that we thought we'd see week 1 when the season started. It took him a while, kind of like last year, to hit his stride. But Now he's playing at a whole different level. This is the Sam Leavitt that we saw last year in the Peach Bowl against Texas. So that alone, I think, puts Arizona State in the mix. And, yeah, the teams at the bottom in that top chunk of the conference are not losing to teams at the bottom.
Yeah.
They are losing to each other.
And then how about Houston and Cincinnati? And look, ultimately, they're two teams at this point statistically that are competing for the Big 12 championship. And who knows how this thing ends up. But, again, if we have to keep, like, the full picture in mind as well as the big picture, here's two programs in Cincinnati and Houston who have been very bad since joining the Big 12. And for them to now both be 6-1, bowl eligible, both teams hit the over 7 weeks into the season, it's impressive. And here's what Houston quarterback Connor Wegman said about that.
Like we always say, Coach Fritz always say, each week is its own season, and we treat it as such. And just go 1-0 each and every week. Being 6-1, that's awesome, but we're only 7 games into the season. We got 5 more to go, and like I said, we're not done yet. Let's not just be hoorah. We're 6-1. Let's keep going and build off this and keep getting better.
Wow, Connor Wegman's a lot more country than I thought he was. 15 of 23, 164 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air. Also added 14 for 98 and a touchdown on the ground. I think the ground game is what makes Connor Wegman different. And, I mean, he won them the game. In this case, Arizona ties the game at 28, and it looks like this thing's ticketed for overtime. And it was Wegman's legs with under 2 minutes to play that extended the drive, got this thing moving, and helped set up an Ethan Sanchez game-winning field goal.
Look, Houston has some difficult games left on their schedule. They play at Arizona State this Saturday. Then they play West Virginia at home. They do play at UCF, which could be a tough spot for them. And then they wrap up with TCU and Baylor. 2 huge games for Houston that they're going to be very much up for in both of those contests, and the TCU game as it is at home. There are some things that remind me a little. Now, the conference, I think, is very different than it was last year, but there are parallels between this Houston team and last year's Arizona State team in terms of nobody's talking about them through 7 games. They're quietly taking care of business. They're already bowl eligible, and they lean on their defense, their ground game, and a quarterback that makes clutch plays. They're 23rd in the nation in points allowed per game. They're 19th in the country in defensive efficiency. They're 9th nationally in yards per game allowed, total defense. They tackle well. They're disciplined. They've got the transfer quarterback, and he makes big plays. He also keeps their offense on schedule. Third down conversion rate last year, they were 27.5%. This year, over 45% on third downs. They're also much better on the ground, which is what Willie Fritz teams lean on. Last year, they didn't have the offensive line. They didn't have the running backs. This year, they have both. They have an excellent tight end who can block and catch the football. And because of Wegman, his dual threat ability, which he's a very underrated runner, much like Sam Leavitt was last year. Nobody thought he could run. He was just a pocket passer. And then all of a sudden, the tail end of the year, he's making first down after first down scramble. We're starting to see that from Wegman, and they are dangerous.
The other win that we haven't spent a ton of time talking about is the TCU win over Baylor, which effectively put TCU back into the Big 12 title race to a degree. They still have the 2 losses in conference, but looked much, much better than they had in their 2 losses against elite competition. And here's what Sonny Dykes said following the win.
We are the winningest team in the Big 12 the last 3.5 years, just so everybody knows that. Okay, our players know how to win. They know how to – they've done this before. Wasn't pretty. I don't really care. We won the football game. That's what was our objective. Now we got to get better. We can't make those mistakes down the stretch. We're 11-3 our last 14 ball games. So this football team knows how to win. Okay, so proud of them for doing that. Obviously, a lot of things we got to get corrected. We'll correct them, but I'm proud of this group.
Here's the fourth quarter drive chart. All right, Baylor field goal, TCU touchdown. Baylor punt, TCU punt. Baylor downs, TCU touchdown. Baylor interception, TCU punt. Baylor interception, TCU fumble recovery, or rather Baylor fumble recovery for touchdown on TCU possession. TCU punt, Baylor touchdown, Baylor interception. This is one quarter. Field goal, touchdown, punt, downs, touchdown, interception, punt, interception, fumble recovery, touchdown, punt, touchdown, interception. Holy hell. And that doesn't even include the onside kick, which preceded the third interception of the quarter for Sawyer Robertson. This finish was wild. And, I mean, it looked like it was over. Baylor had lost. There were 3 separate lightning incidences. This game took nearly 6 hours. But the third interception of the fourth quarter was what sealed it for Sawyer. And again, Hoover has a really good day and then had the one fumble recovery that was turned into a touchdown by Keaton Thomas, which left the door open just a little bit for Baylor to then have that potential opportunity. Baylor scores with 30 seconds left to cut the lead to 42-36, gets the onside kick, but then that was it.
I mean, Sonny Dykes told us at Media Days this summer that the most important position for TCU defensively is cornerback, and their passing defense was fantastic. Sawyer Robertson completed less than 50% of his passes, had a 48% clip. He had a lot of yards. There's always a lot of yards in this matchup, but the 3 interceptions were deadly in this game. And as we sit here on a Monday and we kind of review where these teams are at now and big picture, what does the race look like? For TCU, they control their own destiny. I mean, Sonny Dykes mentioned in that clip that they've won 11 of their last 13 games dating back to last season, and they know how to win. Well, they play at West Virginia. Then they get Iowa State at home in Fort Worth. Then they're at BYU, at Houston, and Cincinnati. There's 2 ways to look at that schedule. Number 1, it's really tough. It's brutal. No way they keep winning. Or number 2, they can knock off some of these teams, and they have a chance to get to Arlington. Offensively, that's not been an issue for them. They are churning out yards, getting the ground game going, getting Barnes back to 100% healthy, I think was massive in this football game. He was my Big 12 player of the week. But TCU is really good at home. They're undefeated in Fort Worth, and they've got some clutch home games where that crowd's going to be electric. Rain, lightning, or sunny skies, it does not matter.
Well, and James, I mean, the 38 carries for 196 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. I mean, I think you said it, but how much can you take that away against a Baylor defense that's done that all year? And so, I mean, I agree with you, but I think, you still had turnovers by Hoover. Turnovers lost in the game against Arizona State. Turnovers lost in the game against Kansas State. And turnovers nearly lost them this game. But it was only 1 turnover that he had. There's just continues to be major turnover problems from Hoover at the end of these games, which is huge. The other side of this is, what's the status of Dave Aranda, in your opinion?
Oh, I think after this loss, he's entering hot seat territory.
I mean, this is a guy that feels like he's perpetually hot seat, right?
Yeah.
But your defense can't be this bad.
Mm-mm.
It is inexcusable for the Baylor defense to be this bad. It was the thing coming into the season. It was the thing they had to fix, and they have not fixed it. The defense may actually be worse this year than what it was last year.
Well, and Baylor's next game this weekend is at Cincinnati. I mean, Brendan Sorsby and that Cincinnati offense, analytically, they've been the best offense in the conference. So that's not who you want to see next. They still have Utah on their schedule. They still have Houston. They play at Arizona. Baylor, this was a major swing game for both of these teams where I felt like the loser of this game was going to be in a lot of trouble. And unfortunately, that was Baylor in this contest for the Bears.
Here's what Dave Aranda said.
The guys were confident. The team is. The team believes, despite whatever the circumstance is, or how many points up against, or how many points behind, that they're going to win. And I think that's, we'll see. That's what gives this team a chance to be special, is that they have that belief and they play for each other that way.
So, defensively, they just have major issues. All right, James Wesley, Ari Tepkin, this is Big 12 Radio. On the way next, Big 12 Uncovered. If you've not yet checked it out, it's part of HBO and TNT and their coverage of the Big 12. We're talking with their Senior Vice President and Creative Director for TNT Sports, Drew Watkins, next. This is Big 12 Radio, rolling along on a Monday reaction show with James Wesley and Ari Tepkin. It's Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, exclusively on TuneIn.
With over 140.
12 Studios, and we are so excited to be joined right now by Drew Watkins, the Senior Vice President and Creative Director for Warner Brothers Discovery, overseeing production and managing staff of the Turner Sports and NBA TV Creative. What's going on, Drew? How are you?
Hey, how you doing? Great to be here.
Yeah, appreciate your time, and want to get your thoughts and perspective on Big 12 Uncovered, which is a really cool show. But I also read that you are responsible for the NBA Forever commercials, which are some of the greatest NBA commercials ever made. Is that true?
It's true. That's correct.
So these are the commercials that have started. I mean, I can't remember. It's probably been around for a decade at least now, Drew. But they basically show like Paul Pierce guarding Jerry West, and you've just done a tremendous job to add the historical context of the NBA's legendary players with some of the more modern players. Really cool campaign.
Yeah, thank you. This goes back a little bit to sort of what I do and what my group does. We support all of our properties on TNT Sports. We do all of that kind of high-end editing and high-end content, storytelling, feature stories, opens, teases, promotional campaigns. So we're just continuing on that kind of effort and pouring that kind of creativity into what we do for the Big 12.
Well, take us through how the idea came together, how this initially got started, and just the type of, trust and access that you're getting from these programs.
Yeah. So it kind of goes back to the initial sort of meetings with the Big 12. We expressed a desire to want to do a show like Uncovered. We know that high-end college football is very exciting. The fans are very passionate, and they love access. So in our early communications with the Big 12 officials, we expressed the idea of, hey, what if we did this 30-minute show with the idea that it would be turned around in real time. And we're shooting the week of the game, the week leading up to the game on our air. And we're doing a pretty fast turnaround from a post-production standpoint, which is, not commonly done. Usually people do these access shows, and it takes a little time to put them together, and they come out later, maybe even after the season. But we wanted to put the resources into it. And when we got the buy-in and some of the excitement from the Big 12 officials, and, they were kind of sharing the idea with the individual schools, it seemed like a good idea to go ahead and push forward with it, and we had the resources to pull it off, so we just went into it.
Yeah, I'm curious. Can you just kind of give us a sense more specifically of the breakdown of how these weeks go? Because it is incredible to watch how quickly they're turned around.
Yeah. So the way it goes, I'll give you a little peek of how the sausage is made. So obviously all of the network partners who broadcast Big 12 games, so the schedule plays out, and sometimes you have to pick which game you're going to get. Like all the networks have a pick, so to speak. So you don't necessarily know who you're going to have week 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's a little bit of a time period where, okay, the picks are being made, the games are being played out, the standings are kind of shaking out the way they do. And then you find out what your game is going to be a week or 2 weeks later. So the way we do it is we find out who our game is going to be. We've already communicated with the conference and pretty much with all the schools. Like we kind of told them, hey, we don't know if we're on your schedule yet, but we may be coming to see you. Here's an overview of what we do. Here's kind of an overview of our footprint and what we're looking for. And then once we get to our specific pick of our game and we know who's going to be on our air on a certain Saturday, we will have a meeting with that team and just sort of reintroduce ourselves. We will sort of set the stage for who's coming. It's a fairly small kind of group, and then we'll connect the point people from our production side who are going to be on the ground with the key team officials who they will be interacting with. And we just come with like a list of things that we think would be interesting to capture and cover. And we ask the teams to, hey, if you guys got your own stuff that we wouldn't know about, or your own list of stuff that you'd feel great with us having, access to. And then we kind of meet in the middle, exchange ideas. We usually fly into the town or the city the Sunday before the week of prep. And we hit the ground running on Monday. Usually teams don't do a ton of player-specific stuff on Mondays, but that's our time to get around and shoot stuff around campus and around the town and kind of get a sense of what the stories are. And then we just keep going every day, shooting, all the way up through pretty much Friday sometimes, because the show, the completed rough cut is done by Friday evening because it has to air Saturday morning. As we're shooting every day, there's a team of 5, 6, 7 people on the ground every day on campus. They're getting high-speed internet access to feed back the footage pretty much as they're shooting it back to the edit operation to kind of be editing the show the entire week so that they're in position to have sort of a pretty advanced rough cut by Friday evening.
Well, we love all the different fan bases, the different time zones, and just how spread out this league is and how unique it is in terms of the competitive balance. So talk a little bit about, the personalities in this conference that make it perfect for a series like this.
Well, that's the interesting thing, and that's the thing that we get from the schools themselves. We always, of course, everybody knows there's usually a quarterback that we're interested in, or there's usually a running back or a defensive standout that we're interested in. But when we talk to the actual schools, when we talk to the coaches, when we talk to the ADs or their sports information people, they can usually point us to somebody who is either a compelling personality or somebody who kind of is making things kind of tick behind the scenes, or just like a long time contributor. It's always cool to kind of find that person that you don't automatically just kind of gravitate towards.
Yeah.
And everywhere we've gone, every school we've gone to, they've kind of pointed us to stories, whether it's been, someone who's been overcoming, like cancer, or somebody who is sort of a leadership voice from a player perspective, sort of, behind the scenes. We just came from Central Florida, and we were talking to their I forget the woman's name, but the woman who oversees their cheerleading squad, and she's been there forever. She was part of the team back in the 80s, and it was a really cool story. So on top of all, we're going to try to go for the quarterbacks. We're going to try to go for the big running back, the big receiver, and the big defensive standout. But it's those extra personalities that the schools are pointing us to that really fill this thing out on a week-to-week basis.
We're talking with Drew Watkins here, Senior VP and Creative Director for Warner Brothers Discovery. I'm just curious overall, we talk a lot about the Big 12 in the context of, the greater TV landscape and college football, of course. What is the Big 12 as a property mean to Warner Brothers Discovery and the growth and everything else?
Well, Big 12 is obviously high-end, super competitive college football. It's college football at its best. So we haven't done a ton of college football over the recent years. We used to do it way back in the day, but this is sort of our big reemergence in the college football scene. We have some playoff games in our collaboration with ESPN. This is fairly new, and we did Mountain West last year, and Big 12 this year has been a much bigger step into the college football landscape. And I think we get a little taste of college enthusiasm from our collaboration with CBS for March Madness, which is a long-time collaboration. And there's just something about, as you guys know, there's something about college sports, and there's something about that, that ravenous fandom and the sort of purity of the whole thing in terms of just enthusiasm. They're filling stadiums no matter what the record is. The people are coming out no matter how the team is doing. The enthusiasm's always there for the most part, especially with these big storied programs with lots of legacy and lots of stories and lots of history. So it's just a really cool thing to be a part of. College sports in America is enormous. Everybody knows that. College football is enormous. And we're seeing kind of that enthusiasm on both sides, on both fields of play with our college basketball coverage and now our college football coverage, and Big 12 is just fantastic.
Yeah, did you say basketball there? What does the future look like in terms of this?
Yeah, we obviously are. I don't know how much you guys have read into what we're doing for TNT Sports, but we're starting our coverage of college basketball this fall. We have Big East, we have some Big 12 games, men's and women's, and it'll just be a great complement to what we've been doing historically over the last several years with March Madness. And we're going to, continue to try to find our way and try to find greater opportunities for bringing the fans excitement and our philosophy of how we broadcast sports, which is authenticity on the X and O side, but also the entertainment factor. Like if you guys have watched our shows in the past, it's not hardcore X's and O's. We like to, not take things too seriously, and we like to present a really cool experience for people watching. So we look at what we're doing this fall for college basketball, coupled with, the stuff we're doing for college football, with continuing the Big 12 season and continuing on to our games with the playoff. It should be pretty cool all around.
For my money, maybe the greatest television show ever, and certainly one of the best sports shows ever, is Inside the NBA. What was your involvement in that, and can we reinvent it for the Big 12?
Yeah, so I've been working here for a long time. I've been with the company for 25 years. When I first started, I was a production assistant, and I worked on, my first gig was working on Inside the NBA, doing graphics and working with, the team that cuts out the little heads and puts them on Charles's body, stuff like that. So
the gone fishing stuff. Yeah, those classic.
Gone fishing, all that stuff, all those skits and bits. That was kind of my entry into TNT sports world. And I've learned that that philosophy definitely resonates, of having fun, not being too serious, covering the sport, but doing it with a little bit of a entertaining edge. And we try to do that. Like I don't know how much you guys watch our studio shows around our other sports, or even our Big 12 studio show. Those guys have fun. Yeah. They're not taking it too seriously, but they're also trying to bring the X's and O's when they can. Like we try to cover the sport comprehensively. We try to give the fans exactly what they want. We try to service those fan bases from week to week and team to team. But the philosophy is still the same. The philosophy is have some fun, don't take it too seriously. Kind of mix that pop culture and entertainment with sports, and let people watch it and have an enjoyable experience. So we definitely bring that to our studio shows for sure.
Well, and I would say even the actual play-by-play broadcast of the game is kind of modeled around that. At least that's the feel that I get is, watching these games, even while the action's happening, it's a very, watching the game with a buddy environment type feel to it. Is that also a goal and kind of something you target there?
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. I mean, the teams that execute this stuff are various sports, including Big 12. There's a lot of overlap with all of our various properties. So the teams that are working on our Big 12 coverage, it's a lot of the same people who have historically worked on Inside the NBA. It's a lot of people who have historically worked on, our March Madness coverage and our baseball coverage. So if you're seeing that kind of like, oh, this is a little bit cool, this is not too strict or too loose, or it's because the philosophy kind of spreads out through everything we do. And again, there's a lot of people who touch all of our properties that try to give them that same kind of feel.
Well, it's extremely entertaining. TNT and Warner Brothers Discovery have done an incredible job so far with the Big 12 product, and we're just super excited to watch and be a part of it. So first off, thank you. Thanks for putting this time and care and effort into the Big 12 in the same way you do for the NBA and all the other products under Warner Brothers Discovery. And keep it coming. Big 12 Uncovered is awesome. Great access, and can't wait to see more and more of it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. If you guys like the show, keep watching it. Send in those comments. We love to see it. We want that two-way sort of interaction with fans. So, keep watching and keep letting us know.
Will do. Thank you, Drew. Appreciate your time. Drew Watkins, the Senior Vice President for Content for Warner Brothers Discovery, part of Big 12 product and TNT NBA as well. James Westling, Ari Tebkin, it's a great show. I would advise people to go check it out, give you an inside look into each school. And though we think of Hard Knocks as being kind of the standard for it, I mean, Hard Knocks is covering one team over the course of a month.
Right.
This is one program over the course of a week. So it's a lot to get in, but it's entertaining.
And they do something different each and every week. There's these stories, and Drew talked about it there, when they sit down with these coaching staffs and administrators and SIDs, they always find the deep level stuff, and it's really well done. And Big 12 fans are loving the TNT broadcasts.
This is Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn. On the way next, we've got a very special guest, James Amari. It's Big 12 Radio.
Direct snap. He keeps it.
Big 12 Radio. This is Big 12 Today, heard exclusively on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. And it's really fun to catch up with another friend of ours, Big E from WWE, who joined us at Big 12 Media Days for football and now joins us live to talk through some Big 12 football, as well as WWE taking over the Delta Center in Salt Lake City. Back-to-back nights with Friday Night SmackDown on October 31st. That's Halloween. And then the Saturday night main event on November 1st. So that'll be right around the Utah football game. So combo tickets available now via SeatGeek.com. What's going on, Big E? How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate your time. What should people expect for Friday Night SmackDown on Halloween and then the main event on November 1st?
Look, the shows are going to be a lot of fun. For people who've been fans and who watch on TV, that's great, but there's nothing like being there in person, seeing your favorite superstars, hearing the music. It really is a communal experience being there with fellow wrestling fans. And if you're someone who is not an ardent WWE fan, please make sure to check it out. The shows are a lot of fun. I meet so many people who are like, I don't know, we'll see. They end up going, and they have a great time. So I promise you, it's a lot of fun in person.
Now, have you guys had SmackDown events already in some Big 12 markets?
Yes, we have. So we were in Cincinnati not too long ago. We had Angelo Dawkins, who was the MC for Cincinnati, Iowa State. We've definitely, I think throughout the season, I want to say we have 4 or 5 different Big 12 games that are in markets that we're in for SmackDown as well.
All right, so what, Big E, is your reaction so far to the Big 12 football season?
Big 12's been a lot of fun. Obviously, like Texas Tech has looked like a juggernaut, and I think a lot of people just assumed this was their year to run through everyone. But then seeing the way that Arizona State played this past weekend with Sam Leavitt back, Leavitt looks stellar. I got a chance to watch the Holy War, a little bit of the Holy War as well. And man, I tell myself I have to get to Provo or Salt Lake one of those years for those games. The energy looks incredible. But BYU is playing excellent football right now as well. So the Big 12 is shaping up a bit, because I think a lot of people thought this was Texas Tech's year to run away with things, but we have some other contenders shaping up. So I'm excited for BYU and that inevitable clash with Texas Tech. I think they play in the regular season, I believe.
Yes, they do. November 8th, going to be a huge game. Big E, when you talk about WWE, college football, it's like a culture collision between the Big 12 fans that also want to take in some WWE on these weekends. When you've got major wrestling shows on Fridays in the same city with a game right after on Saturday, I mean, what does that mean for your sport and college football for those big weekends?
I think it's a great way to lead into an incredible Big 12 game. Is you get a chance, if you're in town, you're hanging out on Friday, you can stop by, watch SmackDown. You can even pop in the next day, maybe catch the afternoon college football game, and then go to Saturday night's main event in Salt Lake on the 1st of November. But, there's so many of us who are passionate college football fans in the locker room. So many of us played college football. I played at Iowa. Roman Reigns played at Georgia Tech. We have so many former college football players who jumped into to WWE for a living. So I think there is a lot of a crossover as well. And I go to games, and so many rabid WWE fans are at games. I was just in Iowa City to watch us beat Penn State, and met so many WWE fans. So there's a lot of synergy between WWE and college football fans.
Yeah, well said. Big E, always appreciate your time. Thanks very much for jumping on with us and promoting. We've got SmackDown and then Saturday night's main event in Salt Lake City on October 31st and November 1st.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Big E joining us again. WWE takes over the Delta Center in Salt Lake City on October 31st. Little Friday night SmackDown on Halloween. And then Saturday night, the main event on November 1st. WWE has a rich history of events in Salt Lake, including the Raw and SmackDown annually, with several of the biggest WWE superstars having competed there, including Cody Rhodes, Seth freaking Rollins, Rhea Ripley, Becky Lynch, and others. Combo tickets available now for both events via SeatGeek.com. Check it out today, James.
Yeah, and they've been doing these Friday night SmackDown events in cities tied to Big 12 games. They did one in Dublin ahead of Iowa State and Kansas State. Big E mentioned the SmackDown in Cincinnati on October 3rd. This weekend they're going to be in Tempe ahead of Houston and Arizona State as kind of the ramp up to that big one next weekend. And there is a lot of tie-ins between WWE, college football. He said it. Roman Reigns went to Georgia Tech. He went to Iowa. A lot of trash talk behind the scenes.
Of course, we remember The Rock, having gone to Miami, very famously a former Miami football player. So, yeah, a lot of guys that play college football and maybe don't make it to the NFL get opportunities and go wrestle.
Don't forget about Stone Cold Steve Austin at North Texas. In North Texas, after a turnover, they have the Stone Cold celebration on the sidelines, which is exploded on social media. Bless you.
Thank you. I was hoping you were going to keep talking, but you cut it off right at the exact moment that I was.
Right at the exact moment.
Gosh, what a team.
Synchronized sneezing.
All right, what did we learn week 8?
Well, I think we learned that the league race is maybe a little bit more open at the top.
I would say line one, number one, most important thing we learned week 8 is Texas Tech is not going to run away with this thing.
Yes.
If we thought Texas Tech was going to be undefeated, that's obviously not going to be the case anymore. And we evaluated if 2 losses would be okay to compete for a Big 12 championship game opportunity. And I think maybe we learned that this week 2 losses doesn't take you completely out of it yet.
Yeah, I agree with that. When you look at TCU and who they have upcoming on their schedule, same thing for Utah. Kansas and Kansas State are 2-2, and they play each other this weekend. So a massive Sunflower Showdown. The winner of that game is going to feel like they control their own destiny. But I would say that, Texas Tech losing was eye-opening just from this league, we know it's a little bit more top-heavy than it's been in recent memory, but maybe even more so now. When you look at BYU beating Utah, Cincinnati still just humming along at 4-0 in Big 12 play, and then Texas Tech and Arizona State. And I think we also learned that Houston's a resilient football team, and they're going to be tough to beat at Houston. And the way their schedule shapes up, maybe they could be this year's Arizona State. I think they're the most likely candidate. Also saw a really interesting side-by-side. Remember, Arizona State this time last year was 5-2 and 3-1 in Big 12 play. There are a lot of parallels between their schedule last year and their schedule this year. In fact, this year they're 3-1 in Big 12 play, and last year they were 2-2, I should say. So, they're even more ahead of schedule in terms of getting back to Arlington this year than they were last year. Remember, last year we weren't talking about them at all at this point in time.
Do you think if you were to bet on it today that we would see a multiple-team tie that decides who plays for the Big 12 championship?
Yes. I do think we're going to see that. I think we're going to have more than 2 teams with 1 loss in Big 12 play. And if somebody has 1 loss, then I think, if there's only 1 team that has 1 loss, I think we'll have 2, 3, maybe 4 teams that have 2 losses in Big 12 play.
Well, here's my question to you. Will the Big 12 championship game feature 2 teams with 1 or 1 team with 1 Big 12 loss?
That's tough.
Currently, BYU and Cincinnati undefeated in conference. Arizona State, Texas Tech, and Houston with 1 loss. So that is 5 teams without a loss or 1 loss in conference play.
So I think a lot of it comes down to how many of these teams play one another. Okay, we know BYU and Texas Tech play. They play on November 8th. Massive game. Somebody's going to take an L. But then BYU plays Cincinnati at Cincinnati. So that's where you could see, one of those 2 teams, if they're both undefeated going into that game, suffer their first loss. But then Cincinnati plays at Utah as well. So I think too many of these teams at the top are starting to play one another that mathematically, yes, I think we're going to see maybe a team with 1 loss or no losses, and then I think kind of a log jam of teams with 2 losses. I just think the math is shaking out that way when I look at these schedules.
Yeah, BYU has at Texas Tech and at Cincinnati left, which doesn't even include a game at home against TCU. We talked about it in lead up to this week. Really, last week it was. Arizona, Utah so far for BYU. They're 2-0 in that really difficult stretch in the Big 12. At Iowa State, with Iowa State coming off a bye this week, and then at Texas Tech in back-to-back weeks, TCU at home, and then at Cincinnati. Like, they are running the gauntlet. The idea that they could go undefeated in this stretch is, to me, very far-fetched. Yeah. Now, that says nothing about their opportunity to win the Big 12 this year.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, no one is going to be undefeated. I don't think Cincinnati or BYU will be undefeated by the time we get to a Big 12 championship. And if BYU is, or even Cincinnati is, I would say that ensures the Big 12 will have at least 2 playoff teams.
Yeah. And remember, it's really, really difficult to go undefeated in today's college football world. Last year, there was one team in the entire country, 2 teams if you count Boise State. And no, Boise State lost a regular season game, so it was just Oregon. And then Oregon got pounded in the Big 12 or in the Big 10 championship game. Like, it's really difficult to go undefeated. I don't think that should be the expectation or even the goal for anybody. But then you look like Arizona State and Houston play each other this weekend. Somebody's going to have their second loss in Big 12 play. Don't forget about Iowa State. After Arizona State-Houston, Arizona State goes to Ames to play Iowa State. BYU's playing Iowa State this weekend in Ames. Like, they could play spoiler. They are another team coming off a bye that controls their own destiny. So the way that the schedule is shaping up, I think it's going to be a mess once again, but I think it could be a mess this year in college football across the entire country, where the Big 12 is in a good position to have 2 teams with 1 or 2 losses that are still very much in the conversation for multiple bids.
This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are streaming live on TuneIn. Check out the TuneIn app if you have not yet already. Make sure to favorite the channel. That way Big 12 Radio shows up each and every time you open up the app. By the way, a couple of Big 12 games of the week for Week 9, including the matchup between your alma mater and my alma mater, the rivalry game, the Sunflower Showdown. Kansas and Kansas State is a game you could hear on Big 12 Radio on Saturday at 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And then the nightcap for Big 12 Radio in terms of the games of the week this week in the Big 12. The other would be Houston at Arizona State, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. If you want all of the games across the Week 9 Big 12 slate, you need Big 12, TuneIn Premium. But you get access as part of Big 12 Radio for free to the 2 Big 12 games of the week this week, which would be Kansas and Kansas State, and Houston, Arizona State. Both can be heard as a part of Big 12 Radio. We're also streaming on YouTube and Big 12 Studios across Roku, Tubi, Amazon Prime Video, and many other platforms, including YouTube. And your Lyft driver is also on our YouTube chat. Clay's Closet says, "Hi, James. Drove him in a Lyft last week to the airport and talked sports and watched a little few days since then." So welcome to the show, Clay.
Let's go, Clay. Man, Clay
is,
delivers.
Are you a Big 12 fan? And do you need me every day to relay your messages to James?
Yes, please do.
All right.
Detailed play-by-play every day.
Yeah. Also, that is not flatulence on the part of James Westling. If you could hear what's happening in our studio right now. We're undergoing some construction.
The construction,
unbeknownst to us,
has me shook.
It sounds like flatulence.
Very
I'm not going to lie.
Are the mics picking this up?
Yes. Unfortunately.
Like, what is going on?
I mean, this is we said we are in an undisclosed location, so there's some undisclosed construction happening at
I just went in the hallway, nobody to be found.
Yeah.
Okay, I was ready to light somebody up.
It's undisclosed construction, James. You can't find them.
By the way, Pete Nakos about an hour ago tweets, "Sources tell On3 Sports that Texas Tech quarterback Barrett Morton remains day-to-day and will be reevaluated this week. He was limited in practice last week and was available in an emergency role. Expecting a decision on the starting quarterback versus Oklahoma State later this week."
You're going to have to shout at me. I can't hear you.
You may want to just go another week without Barrett Morton at this point.
What?
With Oklahoma State being the next team. Tech's playing Oklahoma State, James. They don't need Barrett Morton to win.
All right, I got a quick story for you.
They don't even need, they probably don't even need Will Hammond to win.
Who do they play?
Oklahoma State.
Okay. When I was doing play-by-play on radio for a very small college back in the day, they had a coach, and he was very animated. He'd been there forever. He was a legendary NAIA coach, and he was a little bit hard of hearing. And after the game, they just had this massive win. Okay, they rallied from they're down by, this is a basketball coach, so they're down 7 points with a minute to go, and they come back and they win the game on a buzzer beater. And the crowd's going crazy, and he goes through the handshake line, and he comes and he sits down at our radio spot there, courtside at the scores table. And I'm all pumped up about this win. And this is where I learned that 10 seconds or less is the magic number when asking questions during an interview. Because I'm all hyped up. I go through this big, long, detailed breakdown of the final minute. And, Coach, your guys are all fired up. And I can't believe he banked that in. That was incredible. What does this mean for the program? And he goes, what was that? Couldn't hear a word I was saying. What was that?
What'd you say?
I repeated the question in a much more condensed manner.
And did he hear it that time?
He heard it that time. I shouted at him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh?
He was a lip reader.
What?
He was a lip reader, so I really over-enunciated so
There
he
you
could
go.
read my lips. Yeah.
Big 12 Radio, James Westling, Ari Tepkin, Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. All right, we'll reach you in our grab bag of topics next, including the final whistle on a Monday, a full Monday reaction show with James. I'm Ari. This is Big 12 Today, Big 12 Radio, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. James Westling. I'm Ari Tepkin. Week 8 reaction. We're getting you ready, of course, for Week 9 as well. Talking big picture, talking small picture. And after the show today, the three of us are heading out to Kansas City for Big 12 basketball media days with coverage from the women's side of things tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, the men's side of things. So make sure to be locked in right here on Big 12 Radio because we'll, of course, have football covered as well as starting to dive headfirst into women's and men's basketball, James.
Man, I'm pumped. It's exhibition basketball season. Had to shout out Oklahoma State for beating Auburn. BYU lost last night to somebody they shouldn't lose to, but it's when Oklahoma State beats Auburn, watch out for the Cowboys.
That's right. It's a big deal.
Huge sleeper pick in the Big 12 this year, but when BYU loses, it's just an exhibition game, probably played a lot of their bench players. No big deal on that front. It'll be fine. But I love that college basketball exhibition games. It used to be like everybody would play the EA All-Stars, and now they're these big events where they let fans in and they play them in NBA-type arenas or at least G League-type arenas, and there's a big crowd. Like Kansas State's playing Missouri on Friday, so it's a nice little ramp-up to the regular season.
Yeah, I would agree. All right. Do you have a good weekend? Anything you want to get off your chest? Anything you want to get into?
I had a lovely weekend. The highlight yesterday was probably a couple of mid-afternoon bike rides. I can tell
a couple.
Yeah, more than one.
2-a-days.
Yeah, two-a-days. 2-a-days with the bikes.
Wow. By yourself? With the family?
No, I had a little guy with me. He's learning. So a lot of coaching.
Just a random kid you picked up on the street?
Well, my stepson.
Okay, got it.
Who's 7, and he's a tremendous athlete. So I knew I could teach that kid how to ride a bike in 30 seconds. He's zipping around corners by the end of the day.
Did you teach him how to ride a bike this weekend?
No, I mean, he kind of knew a little bit, but, I mean, we perfected it.
Let's go. Way to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's no big deal. It is what it is.
I mean, clearly not. Yeah, he's a little bit old. I mean, my 7-year-old's been on a bike for years, but yeah, no, it's not a big deal.
It has? Okay, of course.
For years, but of course, it's not a big deal for him or for you.
Right.
Does Lacey ride bikes?
Yeah, she does, but we don't have enough bikes. But really, probably the low light of my weekend was that my wife went to this big Halloween costume party. Everybody's costumes were phenomenal, and I missed it. My game got over late on Saturday, so I couldn't go. And
all right, so how late?
Well, here's the deal. So, I mean, I got home around like 9 o'clock, maybe even a little bit before then. But we had hired a babysitter for the 2 boys that were in the house with us this weekend, and the babysitter was tapped out. Like, I walk in the door, he's waiting at the door to leave. Like, he had enough. And he's only a freshman in high school, so undefeated in math, but not bedtime.
Wait a second. 9 o'clock on a Friday night, Saturday night, he was ready to go? What was the expectation for this guy?
Yeah, I don't know.
So 2 problems. First off, male babysitter in 2025. What are you, nuts? Second point. Male babysitter in 2025? What are you, nuts? Have you not learned your lesson here?
He's like our 3rd string quarterback. He was not our first couple of choices. It was
Clearly.
The first time he had done it. He's watched the Pets, but he's not watched any.
So 9 o'clock was too late for him, huh?
No, I think
you get in that house. You tell him to sit his rear end back down. I mean, you might as well have just let the kids alone.
Pretty
9
much.
o'clock, you still had plenty of time to get to that costume party, James.
I don't disagree. But homeboy was ready to go. I could see it in his eyes.
Sounds like a very convenient excuse for a guy that doesn't like to be out very late.
I mean, I'm not gonna. He didn't have to twist my arm. I was like, will I sit on the couch and eat snacks and watch the Holy War? Okay. But I love me some karaoke, and I missed my moment. My karaoke is always in midseason.
9 o'clock at night, dude.
Mid-season form with the karaoke, and yeah, she was out pretty late, partying, and I was at home.
So who'd she go with then? If this was like a couple's costume party,
she went with another friend whose husband couldn't attend.
Oh, okay.
And they were the Olsen sisters.
Oh, that's right. We talked about this.
Yeah, we did.
That's right.
We talked about it.
And who were you going to be dressed up as?
I was going to be security. I ordered a whole set,
but not the 3rd Olsen sister. Who, by the way, if people have seen you and check us out on video, you kind of look like you could be. You could pull it off. Is the 3rd Olsen sister?
She's tall. She's long and lanky.
She's got blonde hair.
Does she?
I don't know.
I don't
assume
think
she does.
No, I don't think she does.
But you don't really either, right? You bleach your hair?
You know what I mean? I get accused of bleaching my hair. Frosted tips is my favorite. I guess if I have a certain type of gel in there, people think I've frosting my hair. I don't even know what that means.
If I saw you and
I
I
don't even
thought
know what
you
that means.
frosted your tips, I would think, wow, this guy's stuck in 1998. What happened to this guy?
Yeah, so that was it. How was the camping trip?
It was great. It was phenomenal. I mean, I can't.
Did you wear that shirt for 3 days? You're wearing a camping shirt.
This is a fishing shirt, James. It's totally different.
Excuse me, it's a fishing shirt.
Well, we got out to Cedar Hill.
Fishing, camping, isn't that the same?
It's not the same. I mean, you go fishing on the camping trip.
Feels
but yeah.
the same.
I mean, there's hiking shirts. It's a distinction. I mean, come on, James. We'll be quizzed on this later. You got to know your differences in shirts here, all right? This is not.
My shirt.
Simple, James.
Does it have a collar? Does it not have a collar? That's not a camping shirt. That's a fishing shirt. Excuse me.
How dare you not know the distinctions, though subtle but important. So we were out at Cedar Hill State Park, which is a gorgeous area, very surprisingly to me. It is, of course, also where Joey McGuire won multiple state championships and became a legend. There's even a sign of McGuire in Cedar Hill in that area. So that was kind of cool. And,
home of Joey McGuire?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I don't know if it's at home. It was more like Joey McGuire won lots of championships.
Yeah, dude
won
won a
all
bunch
of the
of games
championships here. Yeah. But I was showing you some videos. Like, we've got a group of dads. Our kids our oldest are in 4th grade now. And so we've done this twice a year, every year, basically since they were in kindergarten. We've got like a really awesome setup, like in terms of camping. So, I mean, we've got 3 Blackstones and then multiple chefs making, like, for Saturday night we had fajitas, so it's making the beef, making the chicken, then somebody gets the veggies, all different Blackstones. You got all different people working. I mean, it's a well-oiled machine that we've got. And, like, one of the things that's overwhelming about camping is the need to buy all of the equipment. I've got to have a tent. And then, of course, inside the tent, underneath the tent, I need to have a big tarp. And then inside the tent, I need to have a cot and a blow-up mattress. And, there's just so much stuff that's, like, you must have to go camping. But then there's the secondary stuff, which is, obviously, if you're going to go camping, you need to, like, be able to cook or have coffee, right? Like, all the different items you need. So that's what's great about this group is it's just a group of dads, and, like, it's well organized with the group of dads that has all the equipment. So, like, it's just amazing how easily we get all the food and it's all cooked. And, I mean, it's not one person doing all of it, but a group of people that are kind of involved in it. Otherwise, one dad would probably be upset about having to do all of it. So it just works.
Yeah.
And I'm super lucky because we kind of hit the jackpot with that. Otherwise, it'd be like a scramble to try to find Blackstones and everything else.
Find those Blackstones, yes, challenging. What is your role within all of this?
To enjoy everything.
I was going to say, you strike me as the hype man.
I love that you're like so all these people do all these things. They're all involved. What do you do?
Yeah, what exactly would you say you do here? You sound like you could be the hype guy. Like, I'm going to lay back. I'm just going to soak it all in.
Just soak,
Jim, fantastic job on that Blackstone. Those veggies are looking nice.
Well, and
guys, I can't wait to talk about this on my radio show
a big
Monday.
thing that I do is ask to help. Hey, how can I help? Like, while it's already going on.
Yes.
So, like, my friend's, like, cutting up the onions. It's like, oh, can I help? Oh, looks like you're already under control with the onions.
Yeah.
Even if they do ask for help, it's always like, oh, yeah, no, you got it under control. You got it. Perfect.
That's me at home.
Yeah.
That's me at home. My wife's very on to me, though. She's very on to it. She has caught on to my game. A little song and dance.
What, do you have an example? Like something happened recently?
Can I help you with anything?
Did it have
just a lot of heavy breathing, deep sighs? You know what I mean?
This didn't have anything to do with me pointing it out, did it?
No. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
But
because it seemed like there was just a lot being done around the house by Lacey, and when it came to like any level of equality, it felt like you were kind of just hanging out.
No,
just hanging out.
She might say that. First of all, I'm gone a lot. When I am home, I need a little bit of time to recharge.
That's right.
I need a little bit of time to recharge.
Nobody has time to do
I was
laundry
a beast this weekend. All right, I'm taking kids on bike rides. All the trash is out. The litter box is clean. The floors are spotless. The dog is healthy. He's fed.
Whose cat is that, by the way, Muffin?
What do you mean, whose cat is it?
Well, I mean,
it's our cat.
Okay, so did you get it together?
Yes,
did
we
it
bought it
predate the relationship?
No, we bought it together.
Because
Muffin's a young
I'm
pup.
not getting anywhere near the litter box.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun.
Litter box.
It's not fun.
Maybe the worst smelling thing in the
It is.
history of Predator.
Well, now they make all kinds of gadgets and devices to make it not smell, so our house doesn't smell like cat, and it works. It does work. You just pour some stuff on top of the litter box. If you and I sang karaoke together, what song would we sing?
The Thong Song by Cisco.
It's a good one.
It's the first one that came to mind.
I mean, you strike me as a guy that would rock this with me.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What's your go-to? Let me guess. Rock You Like a Hurricane.
What is this? 1987?
I mean, I feel like you're a hair ballad kind of karaoke guy.
Those I
no
could
judgment,
crush,
by the
yes.
way.
No, my go-to, and actually our go-to, because my wife's a big part of it too. She's really what got me into the. She thinks that in another life she was like Taylor Swift, like a breakout superstar singer, and that she has that natural talent.
I think that's obvious as soon as you meet Lacey. Like the first thought I had when I met Lacey
You're
was,
like, oh,
she's basically Taylor Swift without the fame, the fortune, and the music.
yes, famous singer. But we really hit it with Jackson from Walk the Line. Johnny Cash originally, but we sing the Joaquin Phoenix, Reese Witherspoon version of Jackson. But I think you and I could do a little. We could do some of the classics.
Wait, what was the song?
I Got You, Babe. You're the one that I want. Don't Go Breaking My Heart. We could do a little Sweet Caroline. Jackson.
Bum, bum, bum.
Jackson.
Jackson 5?
No, it's just Jackson. The song's just Jackson.
What's that song?
The song's Jackson by Joaquin Phoenix and Reese Witherspoon, originally from Johnny Cash.
Walk the Line.
From the movie Walk the Line.
The song is called Jackson.
Yeah, it's called Jackson.
Is it a Johnny
You've never
Cash
heard it?
song?
Yes, it's a Johnny Cash song.
I
You don't know
sang
Jackson? Tammy, you know Jackson?
I don't know Jackson, but I was on a cruise a few years ago where I sang a Michael Jackson song on karaoke. It was "Blame It on the Boogie."
Okay.
I did do that.
I see it. I like it.
It was fun. I had a fan. I had a fan who was she was like a, I don't know, 5 or 6 year old little girl, and she was just clapping her heart out. I loved it.
I'm just trying to remember BYU when Bear Bachmeier had that
they
that
played
touchdown
a
run.
banger.
Well, and I'm trying to remember what the song. It was like a love ballad that like the BYU fans were singing, and it was. I mean, it was an incredible moment, honestly, at the stadium. Like it was. I'm trying to remember exactly what the song was. It'll come to me. It's funny because it was in my head all of Saturday night into Sunday, and I kept singing it, and then suddenly I forgot what the song is.
Okay. Another one I like is We Don't Talk About Bruno.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not being judgmental, but I'm being very judgmental.
Why?
I mean, of all of the
Yeah, I can't
Pixar
find that
songs, you're going with the most annoying one. I mean,
You
what?
think that song's annoying?
Okay, that song
By
or
annoying, you mean instant classic.
I mean that song and the snow song from Frozen.
Yeah, that one. All right.
Let it snow, let it snow. Is that how it goes?
Let it go.
I thought it was let it snow, let it snow.
Let it snow, let it no. Sorry, that construction, man, it's getting me.
Yeah.
You know, I would say I was on the injury report for today, a little bit under the weather, allergies.
Interesting.
Yeah, they got me down bad. So I've
And you're
powered
not
through.
usually the type of person that looks for early, easy exits. You know, you're a fight through adversity kind of
Never,
guy.
Never. So, I was probable on the injury report, but we got through it. Super excited for the next couple of days, though. Let's talk some basketball, man.
Yeah, we're out to Big 12 Media Days for tomorrow and Wednesday's show, and then stay tuned, of course, to hear all of his interviews. We're going to be back in studio on Thursday. Of course, thanks to the great work of our producers, Anthony Smith with Raycom and Tammy Turner with TuneIn. Thanks to James Westling, I'm Ari Tepkin. Big 12 Radio is back tomorrow with a full live hour from Kansas City, starting at 7 a.m. Central, 8 Eastern Time tomorrow morning. But for now, we're out. Peace.
It's overtime.